I hope everybody is able to see this and exchange traded funds is what we are going to talk about today. What all things we will be talking would be ETF in India, the concept, the regulation, types of ETF, what is the major difference between a mutual fund and an exchange traded fund. So uh, what are the returns of ETF? What are the popular ETFs in India? So we have gold and index ETFs, which are like super duper popular in India. Gold ETF is one of the best funds which we have. So these are the points of discussion which we'll be doing in the next 50 to 60 minutes on ETF. So ETF is, we say, exchange traded fund. So in very simple terms, a mutual fund which is traded on the stock exchange like a stock is called a ETF. So we did learn in mutual funds that a mutual fund has various different schemes. Each scheme is based on various investment scenario, is based on various investment objectives. Each scheme has its own portfolio. It has a benchmark index, and it benchmarks whatever returns they generate based on that index. The scope or the way of mutual fund is like open-ended or close-ended, and based on the philosophy of investment, maybe equity-based, debt-based, or a hybrid-based is what all things happen. Uh, a mutual fund scheme which is traded on the stock exchange like a stock is an exchange traded fund. So the term itself says that it is a fund which is traded on the exchange. Now when we say exchange, it's a stock exchanges like we have two major stock exchanges in India, NSE and BSE. Now when we say exchange traded, what does it actually mean? So exchange traded means something which is being bought and sold on the stock markets like stocks. So you can buy Reliance Industries at the market price between the market hours in the stock market. You can buy Wipro or Mahindra from the market price from the stock exchange at any point of time during the market hours. So exchange is that an ETF, a fund listed on the exchange and treated as the way a stock can be bought or sell is called exchange traded funds. They are managed by mutual fund companies, like they manage other schemes. There are advantages of this which we'll come across. So when we say exchange, it is listed on NSE and BSE. So most of the ETFs which are there in India, there are like around 100 plus ETF schemes currently active, and most of the ETFs are either listed on NSE or BSE or both NSE and BSE. Uh, Another thing is, when we say exchange traded, you can buy and sell many times during market hours. So what happens at times, like let's say for instance, in the morning when the market opens, a certain stock or the ETF is up by 2% and 3%. So at that point of time, you can sell that ETF, and by the end of the market hours, if the ETF is down by 2-3%, you can again buy it, and you can get an on a spread of 5 to 6 percentage. So that's the beauty of an ETF. Whereas if we talk of a mutual fund, you can only buy it at the NAV, which is being listed at the end of the day. So we know the cutoff time 3 p.m. So before 3 p.m. you can buy a mutual fund, but that would be at the NAV, which is a day before, and another is at the NAV at the day end. Um, what happens to an ETF is, because it has to be listed on exchanges, it has to follow an additional compliance. So there are rules to be listed on NSE and BSE. So if the exchange traded fund is listed there, they also need to follow the compliances of NSE and BSE. So compliances can be more transparency. Compliance means more transparency, uh, more organized manner, very straightforward settlement scenario, should have proper custodians, should have proper process of buying and selling. So that's the benefit when you list on an exchange, because we already have seen that mutual funds have multiple compliances which they have to follow, which includes a lot of things. And apart from that, when they're listed on a stock exchange, they have additional compliances to be followed of the stock exchange itself. So NSE has its own set of rules, BSE has its own set of rules, though they are very much similar based on SEBI guidelines. But yes, that has to be followed. When anything is listed on the stock exchange, there is a T plus 3 settlement which has to be followed like it is followed in stocks. So what does T plus 3 means? T is the transaction day, and transaction day plus 3 days is the settlement. Now what does a settlement mean? Now let's say for instance you want to you have bought a certain let's say Nifty ETF. So Nifty 50 ETF of Reliance Nifty 50 ETF, you bought it from the market on 21st of March. Okay, so 21st of March is your transaction day. So the day you buy that, okay. So first let's understand how things are being dealt in an exchange or in a stock market. So the entire buying and selling of securities or anything on the stock markets happens on an electronic platform, and the electronic platform automatically matches the buyers and sellers. Now, how does it match the buyers and sellers? It basically matches the bids and the people who want to sell. So let's say for instance, it will match the people who want to sell at 11 rupees a share, and it would match it with the people who want to buy it at 11 rupees a share. So if the current market price is 10.50 or 11.50, it would automate it and it will wait till the price comes at 11, and the person who first would have entered to buy at 11 and first who would have entered to sell at 11. So this is matching of orders on the stock exchange, and the entire stock exchange runs on this electronic process, which is matchmaking process on the markets. So, if there are more people who want to buy a certain stock or a security in the market, the prices of that certain stock or security goes up, because there is higher in the demand, and the volume and the number of stocks traded are always in limited numbers. And if there are more people selling a particular stock, then the price of that particular stock goes down. Similarly, it happens with the ETF. So, in ETFs also you can see the number of buyers and the number of sellers at particular price point, and based on that you can buy and sell. So let's say for instance I bought a ETF at 11 rupees per unit on 21st of March. Then what happens when you buy a certain unit, you have to, the other person who is selling needs to be informed. The ETF would be in the demat account of the seller. So there is a process where the stock exchange would ensure that it collects the electronic security from the demat account of the seller, and it credits it to in the electronic form of the buyer. Also, it ensures that per unit 11 rupees is collected from the buyer, and that money is being deposited in the seller's account. So this entire process, once you decide on buying and you execute your order of buying a particular ETF on 21st, uh, till 24th, the entire process is to be completed. So we are working currently on T plus 3 settlement on the entire stock market. So if I sell on 21st, then by 24th, which is 21st plus 3 days, on or before 24, I should get the money credited in my account, and the uh, security which I have sold would be debited from my demat account on or before 24th. Similarly, if I have purchased a certain security or an ETF on 21st, on or before 24th, I will have to pay the amount, and I will also get the security in my demat account. So this is the settlement, and this is the beauty which happens, that the entire settlement is highly regulated by exchanges, and so the default risk is very low when we talk of the ETFs. Another advantage of exchange traded or to be traded on exchanges, you can have a lot of market data access, like the volume analysis or the various graphs. So you have a lot of historical data of the ETF available on the exchange. So historical trading data is available, that what is the lifetime high of a particular stock or a particular ETF, what is the high time low, what is the 52-week high low, what is the average volume. Now, what does a volume term means? Volume means the total buy and sell of a particular security on the stock exchange. Okay, so you can come to know what is the total buy and sell. You can also access various graphs. So, starting from a daily chart to a weekly chart to a monthly chart to a yearly or 6 monthly chart, all this data you can easily access from the stock exchanges of an ETF because it's listed, which is a huge benefit on making a investment decisions. Because you can come to know that what is the price point at which things are being bought and what is the price point at which things are being sold. Uh, so there is also some negative risk because if the market sentiment is negative, we can see in the current scenario when the COVID happened, or even today when the markets are down by around 5%, what happens is the market scenario is negative. So people would also, the huge larger impact would also be there on the stock market or on the ETFs. So ETFs may also see a sell-off. A lot of people may sell off in the ETF because it's openly traded. Anybody can buy and sell from the exchanges. So if the market sentiments are negative, it has a huge impact on the ETF also, because ETFs also tend to have that thing. So that is a risk. It's a negative thing of being exchange traded. It has the exposure of the market risk, and it also has the exposure of the economic or external factors or the external risks which come across. Another thing is that you need a trading account to buy or sell ETF. So see, normally to buy or sell mutual funds, you just need a demat account, okay, in a depository. But here you need to have a trading account also to execute the trade. So trading account can be with multiple brokers like Angel or Motilal Oswal. They are brokers. So you also need to have a trading account which has to be maintained, and there is a certain amount of fees which has to be paid on trading account on regular on annual basis. Plus there is also a charge you have to pay on each transaction from 10 basis point to 50 basis. So this is basically about exchange traded. So a mutual fund scheme which is traded on stock exchanges like this is called a ETF, right? So this is basically the concept of ETF which we are talking. Now let's just dive into what is the history of ETF. So I think the first what I could understand is it started since 1990s, post 1990. Uh, See, ETF are a very structured product which has a very specific investment philosophy. So it normally has philosophy of investing. It is normally a benchmark of an index or benchmark of a gold or benchmark of a commodity. So they are considered as better than the stocks. Okay, they are considered as better than the stock market investment, as they are less risky, because if you invest in an ETF, then it has an exposure to a multiple portfolio, it has exposure to diversification, and so that is the biggest advantage of ETF over the stocks. Second, ETFs also have a better liquidity as compared to the stocks, because at times, if, there is a huge risk of stocks going down by 30, 40, 50%, wherein an ETF the negative return doesn't go that high. And because of that benefits, post the big market crash in the US in 1987, ETFs became a structured financial product which became very popular. So SPY was one of the first exchange traded fund which had the reference index as S&P 500, and it is also today in the current world, it is the highest traded security in the world. So when we say S&P 500, so S&P 500 is the benchmark. So the SPY ETF basically invests into the stocks which are listed on S&P 500, right? So from those 500 stocks, the S&P SPY ETF is investing in those 500 stocks. So S&P 500 is considered to be one of the most diversified and one of the best market cap companies to be listed on S&P 500. So it is the least risky. It includes almost various major sectors. It includes the best of the companies in the world, from Apple to Google to Microsoft to Dow Chemicals, and so it has the better exposure and lesser risk. So it is still one of the most heavily traded security in the world. And popularity of indexing. So what does indexing mean is, I was just talking of the inflation scenario. So inflation and index mutual fund, when we say the ETFs, we were talking on that. So the ETF return, or the index, which we say various indices like the Nifty 50 or the Sensex or the Nifty Bank X or Nifty 100 or Nifty 200, they are the indices. So since 1919, a lot of stock exchanges started up with various indices. So if we go back to 91, 95 rather, then we just said Sensex as one of the major indices, or Nifty 50 was another major index. But since then, if we see post 2000 in India, we have BankX, we have Pharma Index, we have IT Index, we have Metal Index, we have the Banking Index. So these various indexes by the stock exchanges themselves became a very good tool for ETFs to come out, because then ETF can launch or can launch a ETF which would be based, or which would have a benchmarking on the Nifty 100, or which would have a benchmarking on BSE metals. And that is the way ETFs suddenly started growing, and it is going to be a long story, because the more customization we have in the indices itself, it itself is going to give a rise to a new product. So if NSE tomorrow, or let's say BSE have recently started the startup platform, or BSE startup is another index which BSE has started. So we can also see a ETF tomorrow which would be benchmarking and investing in the index of BSE startup. We also have BSE SME platform and NSE's SME, which is small and medium enterprise platform. So we can also have products of ETF on SME in the near future. So as and when the index customization and more index level based exchanges will come up with more indexes, ETFs is surely going to grow in the higher way, because that helps the advantage of investing into a larger portfolio. It helps into diversification, and it also controls a lot of risk. So as the availability of it is growing in asset classes and investment styles and geographical areas, this is always going to grow. And this is very much evident in the last, as I was talking, if we just take the last 5 years, okay, then we can see the growth in the last 5 years. It is actually the 10 years growth is around 20% CAGR. Now when we say CAGR means compounded average growth rate. So what we do is we compound the growth rate of various years. So we all know how you can do compounding, like we used to do simple interest. We all know how you can compound. So we are compounding the return of each year of the last couple of years stated year, and that compounded return is called CAGR, right? And then you also know how to know yield to day. So what is the yield to day? Is the return. So return is around 10.5%. So if you look at the numbers, then ETF in Feb 19 had been this, and the total assets have been this. So it is growing, but the last 5 years had been tremendous, where they have almost doubled of what they were in the last 5 years. And ETF growth has been very aggressive in the last couple of years. ETF is and when will keep on moving as a very successful investment tool because of the benefits it is happening. Now there is a thing called ETP. Now ETP is exchange traded products which are not being offered by mutual funds. Okay, so some exchange traded which is not a stock, uh, and which is also not offered by a mutual fund, is called a exchange traded product. Now let us understand the ETF in India. So I've just taken two data which I could find from an article in Economic Times last year. So this is something which is since then I've been tracking, and I kept this, and I got to use it today, which is really lucky. So if you look into this, these are monthly inflows. So monthly inflows means the total number of investment which is happening every month in mutual funds. So if you look into this, the ETF inflows every month are almost double of that of mutual fund inflows in November 2019. Since then, I have not added the data because January, February, the markets have not seen a good thing, so they are not stabilized. But we can see that it has always been on the higher side. So let's take this time, August, September, and October. These were the times when the stock market or the specific stocks were growing, or the stock markets gave excellent returns and they were growing very high, and so the equity inflows were high. But since November, the markets have been very choppy, October, November, post that thing. So in that period of time, the investment in ETF has been on the higher side. We can understand that. So this is monthly inflows. We can see that every month a average of 5 to 7,000 crores are being invested in mutual funds every month in India, and it is assumed that around by 2030 25,000 crores would be infused every month via the systematic investment plan SIPs in mutual fund by 2030. So just imagine the amount of money which is going to flow into the markets via mutual funds, right? So if you look into ETF is on a spree which it will grow because it on a longer run rather than equity mutual funds, the ETF in a longer run are more stable in terms of return, and it has proved that they have a better risk management than as compared to the mutual fund equity funds. If you look on the other side, I've just added the equity AUM. So total equity AUM is around 1,68,000 crores. Okay. So overall mutual fund AUM is very high. So 5 times of this is around another 10, around approximately 8 to 10 lakh crores is into the debt and liquid. But we are just talking on the equity. Uh, so in the total equity AUM, we can see a large part. The blue is of the ETF AUM. So we can see the gap between the equity AUM and the large cap AUM. Large cap is the large cap stocks which are, or the large cap mutual fund schemes. So the smart investors or the people who are understanding things in longer run, they always invest in the ETFs because ETFs, as I said, have less risk. It has better diversification, and it tends to perform well to the equity mutual funds in a longer run. Now, as we say, ETFs are a part of mutual fund. What is the basic difference? See, let's go through what we studied in the last time. So mutual fund is a pool of money of many investors together, and then they invest. And they invest in instruments that can hold or security. So they invest in stocks or bonds or commodity or currency. So this is the underlying assets or the asset classes in which ETF or a mutual fund would invest. They can invest either into the fixed income securities or balance or equity. Both of them have diversification as the most essential and the beneficial thing to them. The fees which are charged are lower in both the cases. Both of them have common in them is open-ended fund. So ETF is basically a open-ended mutual fund which is traded on the exchanges. So we all know that mutual fund can be bought and sold just once a day, right? So you have to give an redemption request or a purchase request to your AMC before 3 p.m. the cutoff time to buy a mutual fund. Whereas on the ETF, it is just a click away. You have a trading account. Go on your account. Click on the ETF you want to buy, and you can buy it entire day during the market hours at any point of time. The pricing of the mutual fund is done once a day, which is the average price. Now see, this is the beauty. What happens in a mutual fund is, and ETF, why people find ETF very interesting. Let's say you have a mutual fund scheme or a large cap scheme. We were talking of HDFC 100 yesterday. So let's say a large cap scheme has a portfolio or an AUM or an investment of 1 lakh rupees into the markets. Okay, a large cap scheme has an AUM or an investment of 1 lakh rupees into the market. Today, the NAV is around 10 rupees and investment is 1 lakh rupees. And now on the next day when the market opens with a crash. Okay, the markets are down by 10%. So your investments of 1 lakh rupees will go down by 10%. Then in the afternoon, the market recovers, and post the market recovers, it recovers around 5%, 7%. So the NAV of this mutual fund would be calculated as an average of the price which is at the end of the day. Right? I hope you understand. मार्केट जब खुलेगा और जब बंद होगा उसके बीच का जो लास्ट प्राइस था, जो प्राइस पे मार्केट बंद हुआ, वो वैल्यूएशन पे हम हमारा एनएवी कैलकुलेट करेंगे कि भाई आज के दिन का हमारा एनएवी एक्स होगा. On the other hand, for an ETF, so the benefit of an ETF is, now let's say for instance when the market opens, the market crashes by 10%. So you can buy a ETF at that point of time only when the market is down by 10%, right? So the benefit of ETF and the live pricing in the exchange, one of them is this. So priced only once a day, wherein ETF may fluctuate throughout the day. So maybe you can also trade in ETFs. सुबह जब मार्केट क्रैश था तब बाय किया और शाम को अगर 5% बढ़ गया तो शाम को ही आप बेच पाओगे, and you can end the day with a trading and making some profits out of it. This is actively managed and passively managed. So we will just discuss on this active management. So these are basically styles of portfolio management. How is the entire portfolio managed? There are two styles, active and passive. We will discuss this when we talk on portfolio management, because this is more related to portfolio. But yes, the difference is this is more actively managed and this is more passively managed. And here it has a higher tax implication because of the capital gains, the mutual funds. Even the expense ratio is a bit higher. The expense ratio is around 2 to 2.5% in mutual funds, wherein in ETF the expense ratio of the ETF is around 0.5 to 0.8 or 0.9 or maximum 1%. So it's below 1% in ETF, and it is around 2 to 2.5% in your mutual funds. So this is basically the similarities and the difference between a mutual fund and an ETF, right? So largely they're very similar in nature. They are very similar in the way they are structured, in the way they are managed, or the regulatory authority the pricing, investment philosophy, but they're different in this manner. Now let's see index fund, ETF, and a stock. So we also saw yesterday that mutual funds also have various index funds. Okay, so there is an index fund which only invests, which are reference in benchmarking of Nifty 50. So it will only invest into the 50 stocks of Nifty 50. Also, there is an ETF with the same investment philosophy of investing in Nifty 50, and maybe you can directly invest into the stocks of this Nifty 50. So if either of the three you do, what is the thing? So this is very essential to learn and very essential to understand, because when we go out and talk to investors to invest their money into their precious money into some investment vehicle, we should be clear on the cost. Even a small basis point of 30, 40, 50 or 100 basis point, which is 1%, makes a difference. If somebody is investing 1 crore rupees, imagine what 100 basis point can make a difference to his entire investment strategy. So if you talk on the cost of investing, there is no entry load in either of the things. There is no exit load. Now, what does entry load and exit load means? I think we missed this point in the mutual fund. So whenever you have to buy a mutual fund, there is a certain amount you have to pay as an expense to buy that. And that is called the entry load. In most of the mutual fund schemes, there is no entry load now. But yes, certain times they do charge an entry load of 1% or 2%. Exit load. So let's say, for instance, we are talking of close-ended funds yesterday. So all the close-ended funds, okay, means that you cannot withdraw the money before a certain period of time. So in a close-ended fund, if you withdraw the money before the specified period of time, you have to pay a certain amount of percentage, which is between 2 to 3% as an exit load, right? So there is no entry load, there is no exit load in all three of them. If you talk of expense ratio, now see, this is very essential. See the difference. In an index fund, the expense ratio is 1.25 and here it is 0.08. So more than 100 basis point of benefit of investing in an ETF as compared to that of a index mutual fund. Stocks, there are hardly any expense ratio because you have to buy on your own and you sell on your own. But yes, there is a trading cost of buying and selling, because you buy through a trading account and that trading account is of a broker. So the broker may charge a brokerage of buying and selling, but yes, this does not happen at the same point of time. So you have to pay the brokerage when you buy it, and next you have to pay the brokerage when you sell it. So brokerage cost, if you add both the things, then the ETF becomes a bit costly affair. But you should see that the entire cost is not to be paid together. It is split. So if I buy today and sell after 3 years, then I have to pay. Then my expense ratio currently would be still under 1%, and then I have to sell it after 3 years. So after 3 years, again my expense ratio would be a certain amount. Then the trading benefits, buying and selling, we just discussed. It's just one time, multiple times, live price. Short selling. So what is short selling? So short selling is a way of a trading strategy wherein normally what we do is we buy a share at 100 rupees. So intraday, when we say intraday, is you buy and sell. The settlement or the transaction is done in the same day. So if you buy certain thing, you sell it on the same day itself. Okay? So that is called an intraday transaction. And in intraday transaction, there is a strategy called short selling. So we normally what we do is we buy a share at 10 rupees and sell it at 12 rupees between the market hours, and we make 2 rupees as profit and walk away. Short selling means taking the advantage when the market goes down. So in the morning I come to know the market has gone down, so I will sell it at 8 rupees. Okay, I will sell it at 8 rupees and I will buy it at 6 rupees, which means I have a spread of 2 rupees as a profit. This is called short selling, right? I hope I clarified. So normally when we do a normal transaction, we buy and sell at a lower price, we buy and we sell at a higher price. When we do a reverse of the same, we sell at a higher price, buy at a lower price. That is called selling. And short selling is possible because it is listed on the exchange. It's a live price. The same way we can also the same way we can also have the margin trading. So what does margin trading means? Margin trading means, if I want to buy if I want to buy a certain ETF and I don't have the complete money at this point of time, I can stock exchanges and the brokers give this facility of margin trading, that if I want to buy an ETF of 1 lakh rupees and I have to pay a margin of just 40% or 30% of it and buy it, right? So I can have an exposure of 1 lakh rupees by paying a margin of just 40%, which is 40 rupees. So have an exposure of 100 rupees with a margin of 40 rupees. This is possible because of the listing on the exchange. That's a benefit of it. Limit buy order possible. Yes. So when we say buy order or sell order, if you want to buy it from a mutual fund, if you want to buy index fund or any equity fund, then you cannot say that I want to buy this at the NAV of a certain specific NAV, because the NAV is not in your control. It comes at the end of the year, end of the day, and you have to accept whatever NAV comes at that point of time, right? But in the ETFs you have the beauty. So order limit means I would say that I want to buy a ETF at 31 rupees, so I can put a limit that I want to buy it at 31 rupees only if the current price is 35 and I want to buy it at 31. So I can put it as a limit and it comes. Similarly, when I want to sell, I can put a limit for the same. Another important is demat necessary. Yes, it is necessary here, both the ways. Listed in stock exchange, diversification benefit. Yes, you get here performance linked to market index, dividends are reinvested and dividends are paid to the investor. So this is basically index fund, ETF and stocks. This is for broader understanding of the concept of ETF. So I think you are very much through with what an ETF is. And to quickly revise all those things, what does the ETF do is, it is easily accessible because it's traded on the exchange. You can buy it, sell it at any point of time. It is cost effective. We saw the management fee is hardly 0.8 per 0.08, which is like very minuscule as compared to mutual funds. It has huge diversification benefits because of the structure of the fund. It is very transparent because when we talk of ETFs, because of the stock exchange compliances, they have to disclose the portfolio every day in and day out. It is live, okay? And mutual funds, they disclose the portfolio on their fact sheets. It's very convenient because whenever you think, you can just get it, and you can get an exposure of international markets also, because we also have international ETFs. It is secured because, as I said, the additional listing requirements or the additional requirements of the stock exchanges make it more secure as compared to the mutual funds. And liquid, we all know that I just talked on the T+3 settlement, buy, sell any point of time. So this is a quick revision of whatever things we discussed till now about ETFs and the benefits of ETFs, the difference and the aspect. Now these are the themes, or we can also say the asset classes in which the various ETFs are being divided into. So largely the exchange traded funds are either related to metals. Metals can be steel or iron or aluminum or copper. These are various metals which are traded on various exchanges, and related to that we can have something like that. Gold. So the gold ETFs are the most popular in India and globally. We will just dive in understanding in detail about gold ETFs. Index funds, as I said, they are the next most popular funds after gold funds. uh, large cap funds. So they are the ETFs which are benchmarking the large cap indices and the large cap stocks. Debt. So there are a lot of ETFs which are based on debt or benchmarking the bond markets or benchmarking the treasury bills. Other kind of equity, like we had thematic equity like infrastructure ETF or a banking ETF. And currency is like the US dollar and India currency, India yen. So in that way also there is also a theme on investing in a currency of that kind of ETF. So these are basically the themes or the asset classes in which we can have various kinds of ETF. Um, so these are the various top ETF in India which have given good returns. Now, when I say good returns is an average of 15%, 13 to 15% CAGR, which is compounded annual growth rate of the last 10 years and above. So in 10 years, if you have a compounded growth rate of 15%, just imagine if you have invested 10,000 rupees in before 10 years, just compound it with the rate of 15% and see the returns you get, which is really, really excellent. So we can see the name ICICI Bank and Financial Services. So it's focused on the banking and financial services stocks, Sensex, Indice, Gold, Bank. This is a Nifty index, Gold on Sensex, Nifty 50, Nifty 50, BSE 100, and Nifty 100. So the name itself at times suggests, so ETFs have normally the names itself suggest because they're traded on the stock exchange, and you have to buy from their names. So the ETFs normally have the name which very nicely describe the purpose and the objective of the ETF. Now let's talk on the gold ETF. So gold ETF has been very, very, very popular, not only in India but also globally. See, we all know the fascination of the world for the gold and gold as an investment avenue. So when we talk of investments, the first investment which a lot of people, your ancestor, our ancestors, or around the world would invest is in gold. People love gold and people love buying jewelries, and they will just keep buying things, right? So so that is basically uh, a great investment wherein people just love and invest heavily in gold. So gold has been a popular investment destination, but there are also certain disadvantages which come with gold. Is like let's say a lot of people are buying a lot of jewelry. So buying jewelry, gold jewelry, is not a gold investment technically, because when you buy a gold jewelry, you pay a certain amount of higher charges for the making charges or for the design charges, and it is not pure gold because it is mixture of some gems into it, or it has been molded into a particular design and it loses. So if you go and sell your jewelry after 10 years or 20 years, whatever is the gold price, you'll have an amount deducted because of the making charges or because of the design and other things. So investing in jewelry for gold is not a good option. Why? I'll tell you. Let's say you bought a jewelry for 10 lakh rupees. In 10 lakh rupees, the value of gold would be 8 lakh rupees, and 2 lakh rupees would be the design charges or the making charges. So that means that around 20% of your total value of your jewelry is not the real value of gold. And when you go out to sell gold after 5 years or 10 years, so in 10 years the CAGR of gold is hardly 15-20%. So after 10 years, when the gold would have appreciated 20, and you go and sell your jewelry, you will get a similar amount of funds, or net to net your return would be lesser because you had invested in a jewelry. So real investment in gold is buying the gold bars and into gold coins. So that's the real gold investment. So the challenge into such a thing is, I would appreciate somebody have unmuted their call, if they can just mute it. Yeah, thank you. So the another challenge if you buy the physical gold is The challenge is to storage of that gold. So let's say I have a lot of money and I have to buy 10 lakh rupees of gold. So if I buy a gold of 10 lakh rupees, I have to ensure that it is stored properly, it is secured. I have to put it in a locker. I have to, I have tensions and stress that, I'll always, my mind will be there that whether it is safe or not, whether it will be some robbery will not happen, and a couple of other things. You have to maintain that. So these were the challenges, and so this gold ETF came in. So gold ETF basically invests into gold, and the reference price is the gold commodity international price exchange. So you get the benefit of the pricing of the gold. Okay, whatever is the price of the gold globally and internationally, you get the benefit of increase in the gold price because the benchmark is the gold price. So that you get. Another thing is, you need not to invest as high as you need to in gold. So let's say if you want to buy gold, you have to, minimum get like 2 grams or 5 grams or 10 grams. Here you can just invest with, minimum investment of 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees one time, and then you can just keep on adding as and when you feel like, because it's directly market linked and ETFs are there, so the returns are also really linked to the market and the index of the gold price globally. You have the benefit of holding that amount into your demat account, so no stress or no thoughts in, like how to store it, how to ensure things are there. And it's really liquid. So let's say you have a physical gold and you want money out of it, you have to go to some NBFC and take a gold loan. But here you can just sell your gold ETFs and just get it back. So I'll just put you a source here. So, we are just, if you just assume that we have a population of 125 crores in India, and let's assume that just 1 crore people every year are getting married, which is very conservative. Okay, 1 crore people across India, in entire India, are getting married every year. And we all know that in India, gold is something which is very, very strongly related to marriages. They buy gold on a higher extent for marriages, for jewelry. So just assume this 1 crore people, they buy 5 lakh rupees of gold every year, which is very nominal. Okay, a average household or a very lower middle class household also would have investments of 5 to 10 lakhs in gold in their entire lifetime, and specifically during the marriages. So even if we assume a ticket size of 3 to 5 lakh rupees spent on gold by 1 crore people in the year, just imagine the demand of gold in India. So the demand of gold in India is crazy. It doesn't talk of dying, and so investment in gold ETF rather than physical gold is becoming a very, very, very popular theme in India. So, you can also see the gold ETF returns. So I would appreciate you to see this column 1 year returns. We have seen that last 1 year, in fact, last 2 years specifically, it has been very bad years for crude in the last 2 years. So if you see globally, if you want to invest money or do an investment which would give return, then there are certain commodities in which you invest. Precious commodities or bullions mean gold and silver. Other commodities mean copper, aluminum, and other metals. It can be oil, which is crude, which is one of the most popular and highest traded thing in the world. And then you have the stock markets. The last 2 years have been very poor for crude. So a lot of investment. So whenever crude goes down, the investment in gold increases, and we can see that is very evident in the last 1 year. If you look at 1 year returns, they're like 40%. Just imagine, as safe as gold. We always say gold is the heaven investment in 1 year, and this is the return as on May 1st, which I have taken into consideration, because gold in the last 2 months have crazily gone up. Okay, it's gone up very high, and even in the last 2 years, you can see. So gold ETFs normally have the same benchmarking, and if you see the returns of each ETF, they are into the similar range, because they are very similar in type of management. They are similar in terms of the benchmarking index. They're similar in terms of the expense ratios. So you can see the percentage change on daily basis. This is daily basis change. This is the latest price, which we say NAV. So this is the latest price. You can buy 1 unit of this, which is per unit. You can see the asset size. The biggest one is the SBI, which has 866 crore rupees invested by various investors, and the smallest one is an Invesco, which has around 35 crore rupees of gold which is invested. But still, it is said that the total money invested in gold ETF is hardly 1% of invested in the physical gold in India. So this has a long way to go. Gold ETF specifically in India has a long way to go, and gold ETFs are very popular because if you want to invest in gold, there are only two options: physical gold or a gold ETF. And so in all the other ETFs, be it index or equity, gold ETF is always a winner, and it will always continue to be a winner because this is the best option to invest in gold. Now let us take some examples and understand about the various the way the gold ETF works. Uh, right, so we have an SBI Gold ETF fact sheet. So we will understand on what and how it has been operated. So we can understand the investment objective is very clear. Through investment in physical gold, the performance underlying asset tracking it. We are the scheme details. Um, since inception, AUM for the month of March, we just saw around 800 crores. So they would be holding a lot of cash because that is the amount invested. Benchmark is the price of gold. Whatever is the price of gold, based on that, whatever amount they have, they invest into the gold. Load structure, there is nothing. Okay. Minimum creation, you need 1000 units to start the fund. And how you can minimum investment is 1 unit in multiple. So you can start investment by 1 unit, which is around 400 or whatever amount it was. This is the fund manager. This is his experience. See the expense ratio. It is just 0.5, which is fantastic. Okay, so अगर आप सोचो आप फिजिकल गोल्ड लेते हो 10 लाख रुपए का, तो उसको संभालने का आपका कॉस्ट, आपका लॉकर का चार्ज या फिर बाकी सिक्योरिटी का चार्ज, और यहाँ पे इट इज नथिंग. So we invested around 99% in gold and the rest would be cash. You again have, because it's a mutual fund, okay, it's long term, it's in gold, gold bullion and gold related securities, and the risk is high because it is compared to the thing. So this is about the gold ETF. I also have another example of a exchange traded fund which is based on a index or an index fund. So like this was indexing on, or the benchmarking was on the gold prices. Here the indexing goes on the index. So see, the beauty of index ETF is it has the same benchmark, but the portfolio composition of a index and the ETF or the index fund is different, because in an index the composition is decided by the BSE for Sensex, that what percentage of weightage it gives to a certain industry or a certain stock. Here they invest into the same stocks, but the weightage is different. So you can understand from here the inception date, the AUM creation minimum, you can buy 1 unit and go across. See again here the expense ratio just 0.069. Okay, this is the best expense ratio. Imagine what we do in an equity mutual fund. We were talking yesterday, the expense ratio was around 2%, and here it is just this percent, and you still get the same benefit of investing there. So you can see the sectorial breakdown. 40% is invested in financial services, IT. So they've invested in around 10 sectors or 12 sectors, and these are the top 10 holdings. So they are benchmarking to the BSE, but the entire composition changes. And again, because it's a mutual fund scheme, it has to have this product labeling, so it is moderately high. So basically, these are the concepts and these are the things on ETF. Um, I hope with this session on ETF, I've been able to help you with your clarity of concepts on ETF, and this will help you in gauging what an ETF is, finding the difference between ETF and mutual fund, and also understanding why is it so essential and why should one invest into a ETF. Um,